I can't hear you.
Hello.
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 So we all hear each other. We are all here.
I have a
So
problem with the voice, so
you didn't hear us, or because we hear you very well. What about now?
Hi, everyone. Ana Carolina here.
Hi, Anna.
Hi. Just passing by just to see if everything is okay, if you guys need anything.
I think we are okay.
Okay, great.
Um,
You see the countdown here. So when it's 10 seconds to go, it'll be like 10, 9, 8, and then you are on. You can see the questions directly here in the chat box, okay?
okay, thank you. So, hello everybody. I'm Asia, as you can see and you can read. I will be the moderator. Thank you to all of you for fulfilling the information in the table. That was just to have a orientation what you intend to talk about. I'm really sorry that we have only 5 minutes for these presentations, but I rely on you that you structure it very well what you want really to tell to the audience. So I hope it will be enough for you to. Yes, Dragomir, what you want to
Asia,
say?
I have the feeling that Piotr has
I'm okay right now. I've
okay,
changed the.
sorry.
So if I
Sorry.
Okay.
thank you
Okay.
very much, Dragomir.
Okay. So that was just an introduction. I rely on you that you know what you want to say and you'll do it in the proper way. Um, I don't want to interrupt you, but if you really are a little bit longer on this presentation, I have to give you a sign, or I don't know if you have a proposal how to do it, but I have to say something at least, or to ask you to follow the time. What else? I hope that there will be questions from the audience also, but we will see. The topic is so broad, it could be not 45 minutes, but 4.5 days. There are so many proposals for the changes of legislation, and for sure it will be a big challenge for all of us. So I will try to give a little bit information when I'm talking and when I'm starting the session. A little bit information for the most important changes in the directives. I sent you a kind of resume just to be sure that all of us have the same understanding for the future changes. But I will present some of them to the public just to be sure that they all are aware with the new things. If you have some proposals to me, I'll be happy to hear you. If you want to share something. I'm really sorry that we didn't have a previous meeting. It's probably my fault that I didn't arrange it, but I hope we will be good enough for today's session. But if you want to introduce yourself to the rest of the group, you could do it.
Okay, who starts?
You are first in the list, Piotr.
Okay, I'm from Poland.
How to pronounce your name, your family name?
It's more difficult. Grzelak.
Grzelak.
Okay,
Okay.
Good, thank you. So I'm from Poland, from the city of Gdańsk, the north of Poland. It's a 500,000 people city. I'm the deputy mayor, responsible for housing, but as well for special developments since 2015. So almost, it's actually 16.
It was
16.
written 14 on
Uh,
your.
sorry, yeah, you're right. Since 15, actually, but 14 I was formally nominated. So
But
this
what
is.
is your education?
I'm a sociologist and economist.
Okay, okay. Okay, because we have only 2 minutes, maybe Alexa will be the next.
Yes, hello, I'm Alexa Botar from Friends of the Earth Hungary. So basically I'm from an NGO focusing on climate and energy policies on a national and EU level. And yeah, so I will present some of the Hungarian best practices and missed challenges.
What is your education?
I'm an ecologist and I'm trained myself to the topic of energy.
Yeah, I'm just asking for me to understand. Sorry, I didn't mention what is my education. I'm also environmental expert, but also have a master degree of finance. So I'm trying to understand broad topics. Okay, and Frosina?
Hi, my name is Frosina. I work as an advisor to the Minister of Environment and Physical Planning in the Republic of North Macedonia. I am a lawyer and I have a master's degree in environmental law. So my connection to the topic is more from the environment and climate perspective. However, energy is pretty much interlinked with all of this, and housing as well in that sense.
Okay.
So, yes.
Great. I will introduce all of you in the beginning, just to be familiar with this. So, Dragomir, you're the last 30 seconds.
So interesting to see there are no engineers and architects in our interview. It's usually not the case. I'm a journalist in education. I'm executive director of Center for Energy Efficiency and Effect. It's an NGO that's consulting national and local policies, but also provides technical consultancy in terms of energy audits and building design services, and works also manages a financing fund and a municipal energy efficiency network. So trying to bring together different segments of the energy efficiency market and take out of these policy recommendations. So the countdown begins.
Okay, thank you all of you. Good afternoon to all participants in this session. What implications does the Fit for 55 package have for Central and Eastern Europe region? My name is Asia Dobrojalieva. I'm project manager at Habitat for Humanity Bulgaria, and I will moderate this session. I'd like to introduce our speakers. Piotr Grzelak, Vice Mayor for Sustainable Development and Housing of the City of Gdańsk since 2014. Good afternoon. Gdańsk is Poland's principal seaport and is considered as one of the most innovative and open-minded Polish cities. Next is Alex Botar, Climate Energy Program Coordinator from Friends of the Earth Hungary, organization which is established in 1989 and includes more than 100 Hungarian environmental groups. Dragomir Tsanev is Executive Director of Center for Energy Efficiency and Effect and official representative of Municipal Energy Efficiency Network Eco Energy in Bulgaria. He is a member also of Advisory Board of the International Passive House Conference and of the UNECE Group of Experts on Energy Efficiency, and Frusina Antonovska, Cabinet Advisor to the Minister of Environment and Physical Planning of the Republic of North Macedonia and head of the unit of EU acquis transposition and negotiations within the ministry. Hello, everybody, again. As part of the European Green Deal, with the European Climate Law, the EU has set itself a binding target of achieving climate neutrality by 2050. This requires current greenhouse gas emission levels to drop substantially in the next decades. As an intermediate step towards climate neutrality, the EU has raised its 2030 climate ambition, committing to cutting emissions by at least 55% by 2030. The EU is working on the revision of its legislation under the so-called Fit for 55 package in order to align current laws with the 2030 and 2050 ambitions. On 14th of July 2021, the Commission presented the first series of adopted files under the Fit for 55 package. And as you all know, buildings account for 40% of energy consumed and 36% of energy-related greenhouse gas emissions, and it is extremely important to improve their performance. So what are the changes in legislation concerning buildings proposed by the Commission? I will mention a few of them. The revised Renewable Energy Directive will make it easier to integrate renewables into the grid, will set a new EU-level target of 40% renewables in the energy mix and a benchmark of 49% of renewables in buildings, raise the use of renewable energy in district heating and cooling by 2.1 percentage points every year. The Strengthening Energy Efficiency Directive will set bold targets for energy savings by 2030. 39% for primary energy consumption, 36% for final energy consumption. It will introduce indicative member state contributions to the EU-level energy efficiency target, will introduce a legal requirement to put energy efficiency first in planning and investment decisions. Also will require member states to renovate at least 3% of the total floor area of all public buildings annually, and will establish a new target for member states to reduce energy use in the public sector by 1.7% every year. I will stop here and will give the floor to our panelists to tell us where are we now. What is the best they have achieved in renovation of residential buildings on national or local level, and what is the biggest mistake they have made in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions from buildings. So let us start with Piotr. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to this forum. I represent the city of Gdańsk, the city, 500,000 citizens in the north of Poland. The city of Gdańsk has about 50,000 municipal flats, a lot. More than 90% of urban buildings were built before the Second World War. This creates a challenge in modernizing buildings to fulfill the current construction's requirements. We allocate a large amounts of money for the elimination of the coal-fired heating and the other ecological ones, but we are liquidating about 500 coal stoves a year. This is much, but not enough. We built a new facilities, of course, in technologies to reduce energy consumption. For example, we have this program, social housing facilities for people in difficult situation and socially excluded, coming out of homelessness, in the technology of prefabricated wooden skeleton. The amount of energy necessary to heat these buildings is reduced by 50% compared to building made in traditional brick technology. This perspective, European Union perspective, we have done a thermal modernization of almost 70 buildings. For example, schools, nurseries, kindergartens, these are 30 educational buildings. We connected 26 buildings to the network and liquidated the coal heating. We modernized 14 council tenement houses and many of old traditional historic buildings, which we are proud of them. All of this program is 40 million euro, and it saved 39 terajoule of energy. It means that these activities we have less than 20,000, more than 20,000 CO2 to the air per year. This is on the paper, which is very important because I will go to this points in the following presentation. What's the biggest challenge? Of course, as always, what is obvious, money. Nowadays, fundings don't give the opportunity to make this process wider, and the local government right now in Poland is getting weaker. So this is a big challenge, but not the only one. We have this conservatory challenges because, as I said, this building are before Second World War II. So we have to discuss with project managers how to both preserve the historic value of the buildings and how to install modern solution. This is important factor. But I think the most important factor is human factor. Social, but not the only social factor. But let's focus on social factor. We have this good practice in the city of Gdańsk model of housing with support. This is the system. This is the model based on using the new buildings and the old ones. We cooperate with non-governmental organizations and try to support our citizens in this, which are present in this program. Different groups with different grants of exclusion, for example, the threat of homelessness, addiction, children from orphanages, etc. So different kind of grants of the exclusion. So we need a different kind of services how to support these people in the public flats. We have two types of support: regular support of the NGO, and it is in the new buildings, and temporary support in the old ones. So what's the support? This is the advisory and training in regular life days activities, because this is very important that we have to understand that our activities have influence on the CO2 and all of the environmental factors. We customize rent rates to the situation of the family, and what is important, the whole project is built on local budget or on our city budget. So we don't have external fundings for this project. And coming to the conclusion, because we know that we have very limited time. So coming to the conclusion, what is important in fulfilling the goals? So first of them, money is very important. But this is not the only factor which is important. Local authorities, in the partnership with the local organizations, are the best tools to speed up the process, but they need a real financial as well support. But other factors, we as a cities have to prepare for the task organizationally. We have this organization in Poland of the Union of the Polish Metropolis. We adopted a resolution which established the working team eco-strategy, and the task of this team is to prepare common guidelines for the Polish cities, good practices, ecological solutions, and legislative postulates in the fields of counteracting and adapting to climate change. This is the second factor. The third factor, we have to remember that modernizing old buildings is important, but building new ones can be fruitful as well. So we have to find tools which support this process as well.
Thank you very much, Piotr.
I have two small points,
Okay.
just going to the finish. We cannot, which is very important, forget about soft tools, focusing on the infrastructure. We can have modern facilities, but people with the old habits. And very important is to set up the programs with the soft tools to put an effort on education, the consciousness of the fact that we have to change our everyday habits is as well important as the infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Piotr. I will give the floor to Alexa. Let's see the NGO's perspective on this process.
Yes, thank you very much. I will be talking about the Hungarian situation, the national situation regarding the energy efficiency of households. Basically, in Hungary, there are 4.3 million households, and approximately half of it is in our individual houses, and the rest is either blocks of flats or multi-apartment buildings. So there is a huge potential to renovate individual houses. And we must say that in the past, the blocks of flats, so the prefabricated big panel buildings, as we call it, like approximately like 1/4 of them were properly renovated in the past decade, basically. But regarding the individual houses, the energy performance is really, really low. On average, it's HH. So it's a very bad performance. And the individual houses hasn't really received grants or subsidies to be renovated with in the past decade. I mentioned some examples which were used rather instead, but these are mainly loans. I must mention that in the past few years, a significant number of houses were renovated, but not with a view of energy renovation, but rather like modernization and other smaller renovations. So that without energy plans. So basically, only in 25% of the renovations, the people made an energy plan, which resulted in the situation that basically in half of these renovations, the energy bill hasn't actually decreased. So it was more like more was a kind of comfort inducing renovation, but not really went for the energy efficiency increase. And the challenge is that in the next 5 years, 1.4 million households plan to be renovated, and the big question is, how and whether these will be really energy focused, and whether these will be these will involve deep energy renovation or just minor modernizations or replacement of appliances. And now I mentioned some past programs that people were able to use. I must mention this Warmth of Homes program, which was basically covered from CO2 quotas. So and due to this, it was more rather for modernizing the heating system or replacement of smaller energy using appliances. But still, they reached 300,000 households in Hungary. But these were, a very small pool of money with a very limited running time of this program. And these were more of kind of smaller investments and smaller programs that only slightly increased the energy efficiency in the households. There was a bigger program which is basically currently suspended. It started in 2017. It's called the zero interest rate loan for households. It was financed from EU funds to operational programs, but it was obviously, because it's a loan, so it's refundable. And this program was both for the energy efficiency increase of households and for photovoltaic or other renewable investments. And the result is that it turned out that the majority of the households rather use this program to put a photovoltaic panel on the roof rather than, for example, investing in insulation or other like deeper energy efficiency programs. So even if this zero interest rate program was quite successful and basically it's already almost depleted, we can say that it didn't really encourage the deep renovation of households.
Thank you, Alexa. I have to interrupt you, unfortunately, and I will not do any comments just to have time for the next lecture. So, Dragomir, it's your time now.
All right, thank you, Asia, and thanks for the very interesting insights from the other countries. Speaking about Bulgaria, good practices and bad practices. Well, I had 30 minutes in the previous session in the event, and I heard 2 times from different persons, representatives from the industry and from consumer associations, that the Bulgarian renovation program is considered as a very, very bad practice. And unfortunately, it's hard to oppose to that. But still, as it is the only one that we have, I would have to take it both as a good as a bad practice. And that's probably an interesting case to consider, because we have to take the positives and continue to work for the future. And even if there are not that many, it's good to see and not to write off everything that's been done in the past. So Bulgaria has become infamous, I would say, with this huge renovation program that gave 100% subsidy for the renovation of multifamily apartment buildings, and that was a total of 1 billion euro, which started to be invested in that activity in 2015, and unfortunately it continues to that point of time. It had a few positive issues. So first of all, it raised awareness. It overcome the mistrust that the residents had into renovation. So that was a wrong process, and that was something that is not to be underestimated. The other thing that is not to be underestimated, that it helped the self-organization, because after the breakdown of the social networks coming from the past, we do have a program with self-organization of the homeowners association. That's something to be really considered as a stepping stone for the future development. And then more or less the benefits of energy efficiency became clear to a larger part of the population. So that has to be taken as a positive feature. But then we have to be very honest about the negatives. And that's probably where the last 2 minutes of my speech would go to, because having 100% grant, believe me, it's a curse. It's a nightmare. It's something that should not be allowed at any point, even if for the reason of raising awareness, because it has two main general negative features, and that's establishing wrong expectations. If not put into a long-term perspective, now we have the situation that the residents expect that this would continue forever. It won't continue anymore. But it's really hard to fight expectations. So it brings down responsibility for maintenance of the buildings, because people expect that someone else would come and take care for their buildings, and that cannot happen on obvious reasons. And third, it kills the business. So we do not have financial instruments, because no financial instrument can compete with 100% grant. We don't have technical consultancy services, because nobody would go to compete on a market that's dominated by such a scheme and by a low-cost scenario. We don't have the interest of the industry, because good quality projects don't go into this low-cost scenario. We don't have professional house management, because people just don't care about the maintenance of their buildings. And we have a low scope, because public money are not sufficient, and we have a low debt, because the insufficient public money our politicians want to spread them to as many people as possible. It results in low quality and in dissatisfaction at the end. So the negatives, I would say, are much, much more than the positives. And it puts us in a very, very difficult, complicated situation, given the increased requirements in the Fit for 55 package, because now we are talking about increased depth, minimal performance requirements, deep renovation. We are talking about increasing the renovation, and we basic capacities, structural capacities to deliver that. And the transition would be very, very difficult. Thank you.
I have to stop you here, and thank you very much for the broad picture which you were able to share with us for a so short time. So let's hear Frusina.
Thank you, Asia. Thank you. Good afternoon from me as well to everyone. At the beginning, I would like to give a bit of a context, as the Republic of North Macedonia is not an EU member country. However, we're having the EU integration high on our political agenda. Hence, as a candidate country, that means that the EU acquis transposition is also high on our legislative agenda. So we have been working on our integrated climate and energy legislation, planning documents. We passed a separate law on energy efficiency plans, and supported the implementation of these provisions throughout different schemes on national and local level. At the same time, we have submitted our enhanced NDC to the Paris Agreement, by which we committed to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by 51% by 2030. Which is a net reduction of 82%. Having said that, it is quite clear that we have the background analysis and documents set in place, aiming at reducing carbon emissions, for which the energy sector is a key component. But at the same time, as a country that has also an air pollution challenge, where the heating of our buildings, and I say buildings because it's not only private homes, but unfortunately also public buildings, is identified as the biggest source of air pollution in the winter period. So this is also connected with the environmental measures that are undertaken in the country. So in the past couple of years, we have had numerous subsidizing programs for replacement of inefficient and non-environmentally friendly heating systems in our homes, public buildings, such as schools, hospitals, other institutions. We have subsidized energy efficiency renovations of the buildings, installation of solar and thermal heat pumps, etc. Now, I know that the numbers that will follow may not sound too big. However, bearing in mind the size of our country, these are meaningful. So on national level, we had our national air quality plan that helped, among other measures, that 10,000 households get connected to the central heating system, 20,000 households to change their wood heating stoves to more efficient ones, 20,000 households to get inverter air conditioners, 10,000 households to improve the energy efficiency of the building itself, and 2,000 households from the socially vulnerable categories to be subsidized by a specifically designed mechanism. Then the Ministry of Economy has a separate yearly program for promotion of renewable energy sources and energy efficiency in the households. So for 2021, the amount is around 1 million euros, and it involves subsidies for solar thermal collectors, PVC and aluminium, windows, pellets, heating system, photovoltaics, etc., with a specific allocation of funds for economically challenged households. So low-income households have a specific mechanism designed for them. There are also programs on local level, and I cannot give the exact numbers for 2021 because the programs are still being implemented. But for 2020, for instance, there were programs for replacement of heating stoves again and subsidizing highly efficient inverter air conditioners in the municipalities of Bitola, Kičevo, Titovo, city of Skopje. So it was spread out throughout the country. On the other hand, in the last year, city of Skopje as the capital reconstructed the facades of 14 out of 23 high schools, 2 cultural institutions, other local self-governments had their own investment, and we do have now some banks that provide better loan rates for energy efficiency investments to private entities. But we still haven't had enough practice period to analyze the success of these measures. Which leads me to the second aspect. We can definitely say that the biggest mistake was the practice of changing heating device or installing photovoltaics without making sure that the other energy efficiency measures are in place. However, as I mentioned, now we have our newly adopted NDC. We also adopted a long-term strategy for climate action to 2050 with an action plan that tackles mitigation and adaptation segments, as well as cross-cutting issues. And I believe we have identified the exact way that this needs to be approached. The NDC is compiled out of 63 policies and measures that could be initiated quickly also as a green recovery plan. And it is important that these measures, such as energy efficiency in residential buildings, are labor intensive and will generate also green jobs in all regions of the country. So it is estimated that these enhanced NDC would create nearly 8,000 green jobs in the coming decades. Many of the measures will lock in savings for decades, such as efficient buildings and solar rooftops. So when the government establishes policies to encourage this investment, this process will hopefully support the country's EU accession efforts as well.
Thank you, Frosina. Thank you very much. It seems North Macedonia is going faster than some of the members of the EU, which is a positive message from one side and a negative from other side, because we have, as a EU members, obligations which we have to follow. And actually, we are not doing very well in this track. So I really love what was mentioned here, and especially the things which Piotr mentioned as very important: to have money, but also to have partnerships. To have great organization, and also to attract really people to all these activities, because without their understanding, and as also Dragomir said, it is without their understanding for their obligations, the process of achieving the goals which we have already set, it will be not really possible. And just to have a picture of what we really have to do and what changes we have to have in the next years, I just want to mention some of the things which the revised energy performance of building directive will do. And we have to have in mind that it will be set a clear objective for the building stock to be net zero in energy and carbon over the whole life cycle by 2050, and will be update building standards for new buildings going beyond current nearly zero energy building definitions. The reform cost optimal methodology will be really changed, and the requirements for the existing and new buildings will be integrated to deep renovation approach. It will be introduce minimum performance standards to drive action on both renovation rate and depth. leverage financing streams and technical assistance for deep renovation, ensure strategic policy planning underpinned by reliable data, increase the quality of the energy performance certificate framework, develop a network of advisory services like building renovation passports, one-stop shops. Also, just to mention the new emissions trading scheme for building fuels, which will put a price on polluting fuels, encouraging producers to innovate and invest in clean energy. Also, the new social climate fund, which will be financed through this ETS. We expect 72.2 billion euro in current prices of auction revenues generated by the new ETS for buildings to address social impacts. And they will benefit vulnerable households, especially those in energy poverty. A lot of changes will come, and having in mind all these changes which are proposed in Fit for 55 package concerning buildings, what will be the main barriers to implement them and speed up deep renovation? So only 2 minutes for all of you. Piotr, it's your turn now again.
Actually, for me, the most important is the attitude to this challenge, because we are focusing on infrastructure. Infrastructure is very important, but we have scientists, we have companies to prepare this infrastructure. But the most important thing is to change the attitude of the people and how to use this infrastructure, how this infrastructure should be, because it should be actually the mirror of our habits. If we don't change habits, if we, for example, don't buy locally and go far away for some products, we make a lot of CO2. If we don't think about the sludge, about our waste management, then we make a lot of greenhouse gases. So the projects of the buildings should be the mirror of the changed lifestyles. If we don't change the lifestyle, I think we are not going to fulfill the goals of the Fit for 55 package.
Thank you, Piotr. Alexa, what you could add?
Yes, basically the biggest challenge regarding the Fit for 55 package, and especially this ETS2, so the new system, is that, and that's partly why the Hungarian government also thinks that this economic tool is not really working, that in Hungary there is still government fixed price energy prices, and which needs to be gradually phased out. But to find this kind of balance, how the social climate fund can kind of come into the picture and replace this national fixed price will be a big question, and how to encourage people to really engage and be able to apply for the fund. So I think that what you mentioned before, that is a key to have an advocacy network, one-stop shops, etc. So to enable the people to be able to apply for such funds, and we need to differentiate better between the low-income households and the middle-income households, providing like 100% subsidies or similar, not 100% rather, but 80 or 90% subsidies only to the low-income households, and really help them. Like it would be more of a social program, while the middle-income households should be really, only receiving 30% or 40% grants or rather loans, refundable loans, kind of in a complex mechanism to really and the focus on the deep renovation. So like to avoid the lock-in of the previous programs, which only like encouraged like lower level renovations. So I think that it's also the financing mechanism itself, but also the communication of it. So to somehow link it to the energy price debate, to how to ensure that the energy bills can remain low. So I think yes, the communication and the awareness raising is a key aspect of this. Thank you.
Asa, you're muted, but I would assume that we are keeping the same order of speakers.
Yes, yes, it's your turn. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with Alex and Piotr. We have different components of one system that is needed to operate properly in order to stimulate the renovation action, but we very often overlook the component which is related to the end users, to the developed markets, to the informed demand for quality renovations. And if, as we say, without informed markets, we cannot hope for successful policies. So that's one thing that we really should strengthen, and that's related to different infrastructural systems that should be operable. That's the communication. First of all, we need to strengthen communication at different levels, national, local level, using different actors that are able to bring the message to the end users. Then we need proven results. So we need to be technically sound and have proper monitoring system. We need qualified professionals. So the skills gap is really important factor here. And definitely we need to develop financial systems taking into account the needs of the different social segments, just as Alexa said. Last but not least, we need continuity, transparency, predictability of the policies so that we can inform the business actors to take their solid decisions and strengthen the market. So that's it sounds quite simple, put in several sentences, but there's so many complexities inside each of these components of the system. We should be really motivated to keep our work in each of them.
And Frosina, it's your turn.
Thank you. So first of all, I have to point out that by not being part of the EU, some segments of the acquis cannot be fully implemented yet. So the EU emission trading system, effort sharing regulation, that is challenging for us. With the preparation of our new law on climate action, we try to establish the basis to monitoring, reporting, verification of emissions, permitting process, carbon pricing, but that's to some extent limited. However, the aims are the same, so we are working on improvement and speeding up the process of deep renovation. As I said, that is necessary for our environment, our economic recovery, and for our climate goals. I'd say the key challenge for us is the availability of funds for renovation. At the moment, we have too many programs offered by too many authorities, banks, donors, etc. And I think that does not use the maximum potential of the measures, which can be achieved if those are combined. So we are working with the Ministry of Finance as a Ministry of Environment, with the Ministry of Economy. We started talks with the banks that we would introduce various financial models that match the governmental institutions' funding with better loan rates from banks, with co-financing from the households, depending on their income. For the most vulnerable target groups, social economical vulnerable categories, the full subsidy should be established, but not for everyone. And it is crucial for us that we introduce the energy audit to define most priority measures as per the available finance. Before replacement of old heating stoves, implementation of energy efficiency measures has to be compulsory, including insulation of the walls, facade, putting new windows with the good energy efficiency standards, installation of roofs, etc. And in that sense, with some of this was already mentioned by the previous panelists, better communication is really important, raising awareness and demystifying also what energy efficiency means to our citizen, that it means on the long run cost saving. It may come across as an investment now, but later we will see the benefits from it. Thank you.
Frosina, it was very good message to all the audience. I hope that we really need to communicate very, very, very well on different level, as Dragomir said, to all the owners, what is the positive thing and why we should do the energy efficiency, not only as savings which we will have for our budgets, but also for the environment, for the climate, and to understand the role of everybody in this very complex process which we have to go through. And the most important thing for me is the political will. And I heard here from the mayor of Gdansk how many things they have done, but they really have a lot of energy put it in it, and they achieve results. Of course, there are a lot of things to be done, but it is really important the politicians to understand the importance of these new legislations and this new framework and what we really are trying to achieve, and also to be really close to the public, to be able to explain them why and how we can do it. And of course, the financial instruments, which have to be really relevant to the needs of the people and of the different type of communities. And I really love one word: long-term. The long-term programs, the long-term measures will give the whole picture, and people will know what will happen and how will happen. And the transparency of all these measures should be really, really must in the center of the communication with the public. So because we don't have any questions in the chat, I will give you the possibility for last sentences. We still have 1 minute and 30 seconds. So Piotr, last sentence.
I'm optimistic about the political willingness, because right now we have a new generation which deserves from the politics to change their attitude. So I'm optimistic about this political change.
Thank you. Alexa?
Yes, in summary, I would say that yes. So I think we have been advocating, an improvement of the policies. We are in contact with the people, providing, for example, helping them with energy audits and various awareness raising exhibitions and so on. So I would say that based on our experience, the Hungarians are really looking forward to this to the energy renovations, and I would underline that kind of the long-term solution and really the what they need is a kind of predictability and for a long-term planning and kind of continuous program, complex program. And also, I would underline the subsidiarity. So the municipalities and the local level, regional levels must be strengthened, so that the energy sovereignty can be increased, and not everything comes from the top.
Thank you very much, Dragomir.
Yep. Well, at political level, I have two key words: term perspective and system thinking. Unity of stakeholders, as Alexa said, or multi-level governance, if we have to use the modern term, is another issue. Integration of policies, and then from the end user perspective, active engagement, strategies and implementation actions, active communication, confirming the benefits, short and long term, direct and indirect, of energy efficiency for us, but it really needs a visionary at the top level. So that's where we all have to target our efforts to.
Thank you. And Frosina?
Well, I'd say for any success in any policy, it has to be a combination of top-down and bottom-up approach. It's not enough only the people to be asking it. At the same time, we need political leadership, that's a given, but we also need partnerships and understanding. So I guess what is crucial is to build those partnerships and inclusion. We need partnership with on central and local level, central governments, local governments. We also need the civil society. We need the private sector because a lot of the investment has to be privately done. We need the financial institutions as well for that. So I guess it's a combination of everything, but a lot of work and everyone understanding what can be achieved and why it's necessary. And I am optimistic that it will be happen because as it was mentioned now, thankfully, the newer generations are more aware about all of the possibilities and things that we need to do as societies. So I think we're on the right track. The thing is that we also need to be fast enough. We really want a proper success.
Thank you very much to all of you. It was really very, very short discussion, but in the same time, I think you were able to focus on really the most important things. I hope that we really will stay optimistic, all of us, and really the new generation will be the driving force of the change, because we really need enormous change in our attitude, in our way of dealing with the climate problem. So thanks a lot for your participation, and good luck to all of you in your work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.